President Obama is on the offensive against the Republican do-nothing Congress for sabotaging the economy. The House of Representatives still hasn't voted on President Obama's Jobs Act and probably never will. On Tuesday, the House found time to pass a measure to reaffirm "In God We Trust" as the national motto.
There are a number of public officials who forget what the national motto is, whether intentionally or unintentionally. There are those who become confused as to whether or not it can still be placed on our buildings, whether it can be placed in our school classrooms.
Today, the president nailed Republicans for wasting the taxpayers' time.
See, construction workers, they want to do their jobs. We need Congress to do theirs. In the House of Representatives, what have you guys been debating? John, you've been debating a commemorative coin for baseball. You had legislation reaffirming that "In God We Trust" is our motto. That's not putting people back to work. I trust in God, but God wants to see us help ourselves by putting people back to work.
Senate Republicans get another chance to put the American people back to work when the Rebuild America Jobs Act is voted on tomorrow. The $60 billion package would create 170,000 construction jobs and another 150,000 jobs in related industries. President Obama named names to pressure Republicans to pass the bill.
I can't imagine that Speaker Boehner wants to represent a state where nearly 1 in 4 bridges is classified as substandard. The Senate Republican leader, Mitch McConnell, visited that closed bridge in Kentucky that I was talking about. He admitted, look, roads and bridges are not partisan in Washington. That's a quote from him. Paul Ryan, the Republican in charge of the budget process, recently said you can't deny that infrastructure does create jobs. What's holding us back? Let's get moving and put America back to work.
So let's do the numbers. There are 308 million Americans. The infrastructure bill will be paid for by, get this, a 0.7% tax on all income over $1 million. Who's it affect? The tax is going to hit 345,532 millionaire taxpayers. That means, folks, only 0.2% of Americans will be affected. Just these folks right here. All of these folks right here. 99.8% of the American people would not have to pay a single penny to pass this jobs bill. But you know the chart I love to show, where the blue line down here, where the middle class Americans, and the red line, where all the top 2%ers are, where they've been the last 30 years? Some of them might even get away with it at the red line. It is 0.2%. Come on, serve it up, will you? I bet the Republicans don't. Not one vote. Let's bring in Katrina Vanden Heuvel, editor and publisher of The Nation magazine. Katrina, great to have you with us tonight.
Thank you.
I'll tell you what, have we seen the president this strong? I mean, he was strong today, and this is a formula for success. What do you make of the chances?
You got a Congress which has achieved, a Republican Congress, which has achieved the remarkable feat of making itself less popular than the bankers and Wall Street. The president is out there talking in feistier ways. He's got his mojo on. America can't wait. It reminds a little of Yes We Can. And I think he needs to stay on this message. And he needs to expose a do-nothing Congress, and especially around what you just showed, this jobs bill. I mean, Ronald Reagan was for an infrastructure bill, a taxpayer funded infrastructure bill. And I think, the vast majority of Americans want jobs and want relief.
Why are his poll numbers going up?
Because he's speaking, he's using his executive power. And listen, there's always concern about overuse, abuse of executive power. We saw it with George W. But he is using it to talk about trying to give relief to homeowners with mortgages, student debt relief, on a whole slew of things. And he's showing himself to be a man of action, because for too long, this GOP Congress has achieved what was once mission impossible, which is to increase distrust in government. We need to recapture and reclaim government, but he's showing President Obama that he can speak in a way that relates to people's lives. The danger, Ed, is the super committee. It is coming upon us, and the danger is the shift back to austerity and cuts away from jobs. And President Obama needs to stand firm in terms of what vast majorities of Americans say: protecting Social Security and Medicare, investment in jobs, ending two wars and bringing that money home to reinvest in this country, and higher taxes on the wealthiest.
The president's gone up 6 points in the last month. He's talking about jobs. He's been out on the road. He's connecting with the 99%.
99.8. You did that chart. 99.8%ers, Ed.
You can't deny it. And the same poll shows the president beating everyone in the Republican field. It's almost
early. It's early.
Yeah.
I mean, is this a sustained surge or is it a blip? And much of that will depend on a president responding to the movements of our time. And Occupy Wall Street and those around it have been speaking about these issues for a long time: inequality, reinvestment in America, jobs, and finding ways to make sure that those who created this mess pay for it.
John Boehner was asked if Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago. Here it is.
Yeah, he would know.
Are you kidding me? Why don't you go ask the 14 million Americans who are out of work? Well, they're better off today than they were 4 years ago.
Katrina, I think President Obama has got the Republicans right where he wants them. He's got them backed into a corner. He has set out the scenario of how good this would be and how selfish they are. I think it's a scenario he's going to play out in a pattern he's going to play out all the way to November 2012.
Got to stay on it with deeds and continuing to expose people like Boehner and what they stand for. Your chart just showed it. Their base is the 0.2%. President Obama needs to speak about what he would do if he could get through the unprecedented abuse of the filibuster in the Senate and a do-nothing Congress. Run against. It's not a new recipe, but he's got to show who he stands with, Ed, because for too long in this country, in these last years, people have felt this government is rigged against working people and those the most vulnerable. Don't balance this budget on the backs of those.
Do you think the Democrats in Congress are doing enough to help the president? I mean, I've always thought, everybody talks about infrastructure and everything else. At the end of the day, when you build a bridge, you got something to show for it. You not only got a job, you got something to show for it. You build a school, you build a bridge, you build infrastructure, you got a highway, you make America better, and it affects only a very fraction of the population. So are the Democrats in the Congress doing enough to help this president right now?
Well, I think there are a lot of people in the House, Ed, you know them, in the Congressional Progressive Caucus who want to do more in terms of investment than this president has. I think it's a two-way street. What we really need to look out for are the people like Mitch McConnell, whose state has falling bridges in Kentucky, and yet he gives a politics to it because their first priority is to bring down a president, not to bring relief to their citizens in their state. But I think this president needs to work more closely with those in the House and in the Senate who want to see a different America. And he's beginning, but nothing moves without pressure from outside.
Back to the super committee for just a moment. Where's the president going to come down on this? I mean, this is critical. This is huge. I mean, if he does not,
this is a defining moment.
If he does not protect Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, if he doesn't keep the big three off the table, none of those Democrats were sent to Washington by the voters to chip away at the big three. And of course, the Republicans are going to be looking for big cuts. They're saying go big. The blue dogs are out there now saying that we got to go big. Go big means hurt the old people, hurt the poor.
You know, I'd like to see this anti-democratic super committee disbanded, but if it's not disbanded, jobs first. Jobs first, and don't get into a bidding war with the Republicans because they will take you down.
The Nation's Katrina Vanden Heuvel. Thanks so much for being here tonight.